Today we're going to start talking about function notation. This is a notation that's used when we're writing functions and talking about the inputs and outputs of functions. Function notation looks like this. Let me get this all up here. Function notation looks like this. So you'll need to write that on your note sheet. It's read f of x, not f times x. F itself is just the name of the function. F is used often because it is the first letter in function, and also g of x, h of x, but really it could be any letter to name the function. X, the thing that's in the parentheses, is the input or the independent variable in your function. So whatever's in the parentheses, that's the input. F of x itself, the entire thing, is the output or the dependent variable. So when I say f of x, it means I'm doing whatever the function tells me to do to my input value, x, and the result is my output, which I'm calling f of x. So this notation may seem a little strange, but once we start dealing with it, you'll see how it works. These things are all words that mean the same thing. We've used some of them before, and some of them are new today. So, for x, these other things can also be used to mean x. Input. So if I'm talking about the input value, I'm talking about the x value. Domain, as we learned last week, refers to all of the x values in the relation or function. X is also your independent variable, which you may know from science. Whatever you put on the x-axis is the independent variable, the one that you are manipulating. And again, x, we're using again today to represent our input value. For y, these all mean the same as y. Output, range, dependent variable. This one depends on the independent variable. And now f of x is our new one today. So if you see f of x, that's really the same as y. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this new language that we're learning, this new notation. Sometimes you'll see questions like this. What is f of 3? If they're asking you for f of 3, what they're asking for is, what is the output if the input is 3? So what they give you in parentheses, that is your input value. So when they're asking for f of 3, they're saying, what would the output be if the input for this function is 3? On the other hand, they might ask, if f of x equals 5, what is x? This means just the opposite. They're giving you the output. They're telling you that f of x, the output value is 5, and asking you for the input value. What is x? So let's look at some examples of this. Let's start with a list of ordered pairs, which is the first representation of relations that we saw. This relation is a function, you can see, because all of the domain values have only one output value with them. So the first question I could ask is, what is h of 1? Now, h is the name of this function, as I can see up here. So I'm asking you, what would the value of the function be when the input value is 1? I've given you the number in the parentheses, so that's my input. Whenever you're addressing questions of this type, you want to first think, do I know the input or do I know the output? Because I gave you the number in the parentheses, I'm giving you the input value. Okay, so if the input value is 1, what's the output value? Well, I have to remember now what input means. input is x. So I'm really asking you, what's your y value if your x value is 1? So the answer to that would be right here, 3. So h of 1 is 3. On the other hand, if I say, if h of x equals 7, what is x? Again, I want to think, what are they telling me? What are they giving me? In this case, when I tell you that h of x equals 7, I'm telling you that the output is 7. And output is the y value. So I'm saying the y value is 7. What is the x value? What's the input? So that would be right here. If the output is 7, the input was -5. Go ahead and try the third one on your own. You're trying to find x if h of x is 2. So this time I'm telling you h of x is 2, which means I'm giving you the output, or the y value, 2, and I'm asking you to find the x that goes with that. And that's right here, 6. Let's try this with a table of values. The information in this table shows a function d, which tells how many days it is until a certain person's birthday. So in the table, we have our inputs first on the top row, and these are the people, the person's name who I'm inputting into this function. And d of p, the output, is how many days it is until that person's birthday. I did make up these numbers, by the way. So the first question is, what is d of John? Since I'm giving you the value in the parentheses, I'm giving you the input. Having trouble writing. There we go. I'm giving you the input value as John, and your job is to tell me what the output is for John. So if I put John into this function, the answer will be 5. That means it's 5 days until John's birthday. Now the opposite question, find p if d of p equals 92. So this time I'm giving you d of p, so I'm giving you the output of this function is 92, and I'm asking what was the input that went with 92. So we can see that right here. The person whose birthday is 92 days away is Tommy. Oops. Sorry about that. All right, try the third one on your own. You tell me, what does it mean that d of Sewell is 15? That would mean that it is 15 days until Sewell's birthday. All right, next you can look at a mapping. So go ahead, it's the same function that we were just looking at, p and d of p, so the person's name and how many days until their birthday. So go ahead and find d of Mia and find p if d of p is 21. I'll give you about 15 seconds to do that. Okay, the correct answer would be d of Mia. Here, again, I'm giving you the input Mia. So we want to look at Mia and see what her output is. It's 0. And in the other case, I'm telling you d of p is 21, so I'm giving you the output 21 and asking you for the input, which would be Hector. Okay, now from a graph. Same idea here. I'm either going to give you the input or the output, and you have to find the other. So first, if I ask you for f of -1, again, it's important to think first, am I being given the input or the output? In this case, I'm giving you what's in the parentheses, so I'm giving you the input. I'm telling you that the input is -1. And input is the same as x. So I'm telling you that the x value is -1. So on my graph, I want to go to the x-axis, and I know the x value is -1. Here's where -1 is on the x-axis. Now my job is to figure out what output has an input of -1. So I look for the point on this graph that has a x value of -1, and that's right here. So the output that goes with -1 would be the y value, which here is 4. Go ahead and try the other two. I'll give you about 20 seconds to do those. Okay, in the next question, I asked you to find x if f of x is 0. So this time I'm giving you that the output is 0. Well, that's like y. F of x is the same as y. So I'm telling you y is 0 and asking you to find x. So on the y-axis, I need to go to where y is 0, and then I need to figure out what x value has a y value of 0, and that's right here. So the correct answer is -3. On the last one, again, I'm giving you the output. I'm telling you f of x is -1. That means y is -1. So I go to where y is -1, and I see the x value that goes with that is 0. All right, and finally, we're going to look at an input-output machine and do, again, the same thing. This machine will multiply the input by 10. You put in a value, it'll multiply it by 10, and that's the output. Okay, first of all, we want to write this as a function. So the function itself in function notation would look like this. F of x, the output, is found by multiplying 10 times the input. So f of x is equal to 10 times x. Tomorrow we're going to do more function notation involving equations, so you'll get more comfortable with this again tomorrow. What would be the value for f of 2? That means again that I'm giving you the input of 2, and you have to find the output. Give that a try, and also give these other two a try. I will give you about 20 seconds to do those. Okay, so first of all, f of 2, if I input 2, I would multiply 2 times 10, or 10 times 2, so that would be 20. What is x if f of x is 50? Well, that means I'm telling you that the output is 50, so you have to figure out what would have to be put in to get an output of 50. And the answer to that is 5, since 5 times 10 gives me 50. Again, on this last one, I've asked for x if f of x is 42.5, which again means I'm giving you the output is 42.5. This one's a little trickier because it's not an even number, not a whole number, but we can still figure it out. What would I have to multiply by 10 to get 42.5? The answer is 4.25. Okay, so that's what we're going to cover for today. Again, as I said, we're going to do more with function notation tomorrow, looking at some more graphs and also some equations. So now what I'd like you to do is go ahead and start on the homework, which will be passed out to you. And that's what's due tomorrow. Also, don't forget you also have test corrections due tomorrow And that will be your last grade for the quarter, so please make sure that you get those turned in. Don't end up with a 0 as your last grade. All right, I will see you tomorrow.